is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to lockdown coverage week number 3 in the National Football League. New York Football Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. What a game, what a game, what a game, what a finish to some NFC East family business. You know how the family do it. And if this was a surprise to anybody, shame on you, especially if you're an NFC East fan. If you're a fan of the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, you should have saw this coming. I told everyone on Wednesday on the Winners and Losers program that I fully expected the Giants to score 20-some-odd points, and I thought they would probably win the game too. Now, I wasn't picking them because I don't have confidence in Ben McAdoo. Had this been Tom Coughlin, I would have picked the Giants. I don't have confidence in the Giants to resurrect their season simply because I don't trust their head coach. He seems clueless to me. However, I knew they were going to come out because I'm a professional football watcher. This is what I do. And I've seen this so many times that everyone's down. How about Eli Manning? Guess he sucks too, right? Guess it was his fault they lost this game as well, right? Right. Anyway, I knew they were going to come out and score at least 24 points, at least 20 points. I said they're going to score 20-something points in this game and probably win. And they had their opportunities, and they blew them. Bottom line is, this Giants team isn't going to maximize the amount of talent on the team because of their head coach. I don't think he has a great grasp of this roster. I don't think he understands time and game management, and I don't think he actually has a sound, firm understanding of what he needs to do game in and game out to help his team win. That being said, they gave it a run. They almost avoided 0-3, but they weren't able to do so. Hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles for taking a serious punch, literally dominating this game early, then allowing the Giants to not only battle back, but take the lead, taking the Giants' best punch, actually hitting the canvas, getting up, finding their mouthpiece, putting it back in their mouth, and going out and finishing what they started in the earlier rounds of this fight or in the earlier quarters of this game. Thought it was a valiant effort on the part of the Giants, but even better effort on the part of the Eagles to not only take the best punch the Giants had, withstand the run, but ultimately make the plays down the stretch. And how about Jake Elliott, the rookie out of Memphis, who I am still shocked, utterly shocked and somewhat disgusted that he's not on the Cincinnati Bengals roster right now. You spend a 5th-round pick on a kicker, and he doesn't make your roster, and you allow him to be beat out by one of the worst kickers I've ever seen in NFL history. Look, I'm not saying that he kicked well in the preseason, and I'm not saying you got to keep him because you spent the 5th-round pick on him, but I was confident that Jake Elliott was going to be the next kicker for the Cincinnati Bengals for the next decade. I was wrong. He's now in Philadelphia, and I'm telling you right now, after this kick of 61 yards to win the game, and I don't know if I've ever seen a walk-off kick that long in my life that wasn't in Mile High or some crazy venue or inside. This was outside in Philly. He had already missed today. 61 yards. That's the stuff that legends are made of. And I don't know if the Eagles' original kicker is getting his job back when he's healthy. Jake Elliott may have just made a case to become the Eagles' full-time field goal kicker for the remainder of this season and moving into the future. That remains to be seen. Hell of a football game by both teams. This is what you expect when two family members lock horns. And let's talk about the Eagles side of things quickly, and then we'll go to the Giants, and then we'll get out of here. Look, this is the Louie T Network. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game. Want you to help us do that. Got a number of social media sites. They're all in the description. You can donate to the channel. That's in the description as well. Let's get to this breakdown. We start with the Eagles side of things. I thought it was a solid game by Wentz. It wasn't one of his best. I didn't think he had his absolute best stuff in this game, but I will tell you this. The guy can run. He can make guys miss out in space. I love Carson Wentz. I love watching him play because no play is actually dead when he's got the football in his hands. There's a play in this game where he looks like Shady McCoy, okay, where he jukes, stops, jump cuts, makes the guy miss, cuts it back against the grain, picks up about a good 11 when it looked like he could have been tackled for about a 1 or no yard gain on the play. So he's dynamic with the football in his hands, whether he's throwing it, whether he's running it. I love that aspect that he brings to the table for this Eagles football team. That being said, they made more of a commitment to the run game. This was more about the Eagles making a concerted effort to run the football in this game than anything else. There are a lot of critics, a lot of people out there that did not like, and I talked to an Eagles fan last week that said, I want to believe it was my man Cloud that said, man, Louie, we need to run the ball more. I'm not a fan of us not running the football more effectively. And I told him, I said, look, I don't think that this is what your head coach is inclined to do. It's not what he ultimately wants to do, is run the football. He would rather drop back and throw it 38 times. You know, there's going to be a semblance of running there, but Doug Peterson more along the lines of most ex-head coaches or ex-quarterbacks in the league, especially if they were backup quarterbacks, that get a head coaching job. Most of those guys, they want to throw the football. Let's face it. You're an ex-quarterback. You know more about the position. You're more comfortable putting the ball in your quarterback's hands. And it's a passing league, so it makes sense. I didn't think that's what he wanted to do, but he proved me wrong. I told you that even if you wanted to implement more of the run game, I felt like Wendell Smallwood and Sproles would fit better what you do. Guess who started this game? Now, he didn't last very long, which is why he hasn't been a starter throughout his career in this league. But Sproles started the game, got the first couple touches. He got injured. In comes Smallwood. I thought he was outstanding in this game. And then you sprinkled in, of course, LeGarrette Blount, who did his thing, scored your first touchdown in the game. And I thought he ran hard. He showed why the Eagles went out and got him in free agency. And there's a lot of people talking, a lot of whispers out there that the Eagles maybe wasted their time and money with this guy in free agency. And I think he was out to prove a point in this particular game, especially after not getting a lot of touches against Kansas City last week. And I thought he looked good. I thought the entire run game, the offensive line, all the running backs that got touches, I thought the running game for the Eagles was extraordinary in this game. Really shocked me because the Giants usually do a pretty good job of bottling up running backs. You may be able to do some things through the air on them, especially if they don't hit home with their pass rush. Even though their secondary is extremely good, you may be able to do something through the air on them, but it's usually tough sledding on the ground. Yet, I thought the Eagles had a ton of success with every single back that touched the rock in this game on the ground. So the run game, to me, was the biggest takeaway for the Eagles in this game. If they can remain balanced, remain resilient as a run-balanced offense, this could be something that could build for them in the future, take a little bit of the pressure off of Wentz, which is what my man Cloud was saying last week. Didn't like that it was on Wentz to win the game. It's good to know that when it is on his shoulders, this is a guy that won't kind of fold in those situations. You saw it again here. They needed a drive. They were able to go down and get a drive to at least get into field goal range to tie the game. And then at the end, shanked punt almost blocked by the Giants. Gives them some good field position. Wentz with a strike to Torrey Smith, who not only is able to catch it, but able to get out of bounds, present of mind with 1 second left. So great execution on the part of the Eagles. I still don't love Doug Peterson's decision-making in game. You're up 7-0. You've got all the momentum in the world in this football game. The Giants have done little to nothing offensively. And here you are deciding to go for it, not on 4th and 1, not on 4th and 3, 4th and 8 from your own 40, let's call it 46-yard line. Why? You don't get it. The Giants make their first drive of the game. Luckily enough for you, Sterling Shepard can't keep his feet. I don't know why he's slipping and tripling, bumbling and stumbling all over the place. It's a perfect throw by Eli Manning back of the corner. First, he had a touchdown the first time. Wasn't able to extend the football over the goal line. Okay, that's fine. It happens. Great tackle by the Giant defender there. I want to believe it was Eli Apple keeping him out of the end zone. Great. That's fine. The next play, though, it's 3rd and goal from the 1, and you got a perfect corner route thrown by Eli Manning. You got to keep your feet. What are you tripping over the turf monster for? Tap your toe, stay on your feet. It's a touchdown. Instead, he goes tripping all over the place, falls down, ball comes out. It's not a touchdown. And then on 4th down, they should have run it on 3rd down. Instead, they run it on 4th down, and they get stuffed. Orleans Dark was stuffed at about the 2-yard line. Eagles defense prevails. And to me, that was the turning point in the game early on, but I didn't like the decision by Peterson. It could have cost his team. If the Giants get 7 there, this may be a totally different game instead of the one that the Eagles are able to pull out. He's got to be better, and he said he was going to be better. He lied to us. He said he's going to be better in situations when being aggressive and over-aggressive to a certain extent. I like aggressiveness. Scare money, don't make money. You know how I feel, but he went for it on 4th down 3 times in this game. Now, granted, 2 of them were quarterback sneaks. That other 4th down attempt, unnecessary. And at that point in the game where your defense is dominating, there is no excuse and no reason for that. Could have cost this team the game, but you're able to reign victorious. You go to the defensive side of the football. I thought it was a really tale of 2 halves for this Eagles defense. First half, you were borderline dominant. You got after Eli Manning. When he did hold on to the ball, he didn't hold on to it for very long. I mean, they made a very good adjustment. We'll talk about that when we get to the Giants and their offensive strategy, which is asinine to me because I said from day one, your offensive line is trash. You should have been doing this. This is what Ben McAdoo did when Tom Coughlin was the head coach because the offensive line wasn't good then. He got the ball out of Eli Manning's hands quickly. And even last year when he first got the job, that was what made Eli Manning good to start the season off, was the fact that they've got the football out of his hands quickly. I don't know why they ever stopped. I don't know why they thought the offensive line improved even though they didn't do anything to change it. I don't understand the logic there, but in any event, this defense played well. I like Rasul Douglas. You know how I feel about Rasul Douglas. I thought that this is a guy that could have an impact on this team this season. Didn't play in week 1, played in week 2, gets an interception. I thought he was exceptional in this game. Aside from, I think he had a PI down by the end zone on Brandon Marshall. He may not have had, but I thought Rasul Douglas, he tackled well for the most part this game. He made an interception. He's a guy that had like 10 interceptions last year for West Virginia. He's got ball skills. You saw it on the pick. I like him a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing him play more. But defensively, this team was excellent in the first half. Second half, they could do much of nothing right. Okay, limited to no rush on Eli. As I said, he was getting it out of his hands quickly, so there's not really much you could do there. Then I thought they allowed the Giants to have a little bit of success on the ground. Eli Manning then got into a rhythm. They weren't able to stop him. They weren't able to stop Odell Beckham. Then you're giving it up to now Marshall and Sterling Shepard. It became just a sieve defensively for this Eagles group as every single Giants receiver seemed to be getting into a rhythm. Beckham almost eclipsed 100. You did have Shepard go over 100, and Marshall had his best showing as a Giant receiver of his career. So it didn't look good in the second half, but when you needed a stop late, you got the stop, you forced a punt, and you were able to steal this game in one that looked like you were going to dominate at one point. So hats off to the Eagles, and then you got to finish up with special teams. What a kick by Jake Elliott. And like I said, I liked him at Memphis. I thought he was going to end up being the Cincinnati Bengals kicker for the next decade. And for them to cut him loose, I don't know what his camp looked like, but their loss is your gain. I'm happy for the young man, especially after he missed earlier in the football game, for him to go and blaze one from 61 to win the game. The looks on the faces of the Eagles, the looks on the faces of the Giants after this game, and how excited Elliott was, because what that kick essentially did is it ensured him work for the next at least 5 years in this league. Even if he's not to remain, if Caleb Sturgis comes back and he is the Eagles kicker moving forward, or whoever your kicker is that's injured, I believe it's Sturgis, and the Eagles decide to cut Jake Elliott loose, he'll get work just because of what he did here. Okay, he'll be entrenched. You know, this is a league that recycles kickers, and so he'll have a work. But I think he may have found himself a home, and that's a hell of a kick by Elliott to win this game in a division, a really big-time game against a division rival. Doesn't get much bigger than this. Giants and Eagles, to me, that's one of those premier matchups in this division. Cowboys and Giants, Cowboys and Redskins, and to me, Eagles and Giants are the premier matchups in this division. Those are the three big ones. And I thought it lived up to the hype, and I thought that these two teams played a hell of a ball game. And for Elliott to come in and kind of endear himself to Eagles fans with that kick, that's amazing. I love it. And so Eagles get the win 27-24 over the Giants. They're 2-1. Giants are 0-3. Let's get to the Giants quickly and then get out of here. You look at it from the Giants' perspective, much better offensive performance. If you would have brought this offensive game plan to the first two games, you may be 2-1. You may be 1-2 at this point instead of 0-3. Took you too long, and that's why I don't believe in Ben McAdoo. Took him way too long to realize, hey, maybe it's a good idea to get the ball out of Eli Manning's hands quickly. Maybe our offensive line isn't very good. No-ish. Really. You just figured that out. After training camp, after the preseason, after the first game, you're just now figuring it out. That this is the same offensive line that wasn't good last year. It's the same offensive line that wasn't good 2 years ago. It's the same. You did nothing different. It's the same offensive line. It took you 3 weeks to figure out, hey, maybe we should go with the quick passing game. Slants, outs, stops. Maybe we should get out of Eli's hands quicker. What a novel concept. That's why I don't have any faith in Ben McAdoo. But they fixed what was the most broken part of their offense. They're still not going to run it. That's just not what they do. They're a passing offense. This is what they do. They had opportunities. You got to score a touchdown at the 1-inch yard line, okay? Got to score there, they don't. 2 opportunities to get 1 yard, and they couldn't. You had opportunities late. You can't allow the Eagles to get in the field goal range there. You just can't. And you did. But this was a positive step for the offense, okay? This is the first game that the Giants have scored over 20 points in the last 8 regular season games, 9 if you count the playoffs game. So from that standpoint, that's a vast improvement. This looked more like the Giants offense that we were expecting before the season started. When you acquired Marshall and you thought, okay, they've got some dynamic weapons. When you got Evan Ingram, you thought, okay, this team has a chance to really be dynamic offensively. This is what we were looking for, a little bit more of what we thought we were getting. Obviously, Odell Beckham injury really hurt the start of the season, but no excuses. This team looked inept the first couple of weeks offensively. They looked more along the lines of what we expected. Is it too late? I think it is. 0-3 with Ben McAdoo as your head coach. I don't like the way this season is trending for you. I don't like the way the season is trending for Ben McAdoo, to be honest with you. I think he might actually get fired this year, which is crazy because you won 11 games and made the playoffs last year. But I think he's that inept as a head coach. We'll see what happens to Pornstash a little bit later on as the season progresses. But defensively, it's still the same group. I was a little disappointed at the run defense, but Wentz didn't have a huge day. You didn't give up anything really egregious in the passing game for the most part. Your biggest issue here is that you didn't stop the run well enough in this football game. You didn't stop it consistently enough to get the Eagles off the football field consistently on third downs. They were in third and manageable, if not getting first downs on first down or second down in this game. And that put them in a situation when they decided they wanted to go for it on fourth down. It was 4th and 1, 4th and inches, and a quarterback sneak would be suffice. And so the run game was the Eagles' crutch in this game, and you allowed it to be by not being a little bit more physical. And I get it. I understand. You got guys out, especially not having Fletcher Cox really hurts you in the run game. And I get it. I understand how that works. And I'm talking about the Eagles not having Fletcher Cox. I get it. Olivier Vernon was banged up, and it wasn't the same feel defensively. I understand all of that, okay? Bottom line is, you had a chance at 24-17 to win this game. I think it was 24-17 when you took the lead, and you didn't hold on to the lead. You allowed the Eagles to come right back and tie the game up, and you allowed them to not only come back, tie the game up, you allowed them to come back down again and get the game-winning field goal. So you had opportunities to prove why you are one of the best defenses in the league. When your offense finally got it going and scored like 14 to 14 or 21 unanswered points and gave themselves a chance in this game, and you simply couldn't get the stop that they needed you to get in this game. And so I think it was 21-14, it might have been. 21-14 or 21-17. Either way, I think it was 21-14. You had a chance to get a stop. To really give the football back to your offense, who had scored on the last 3 possessions. You had a chance to really do damage, and you didn't get off the field. Instead, you let the Eagles march it right down the field and get into the end zone and put this game back at 21 apiece, I believe it was, at that point in the game. And so bottom line is, you didn't come up big when you needed to, and I know you've been pretty much holding up what's been a semblance of a football team for the first couple of weeks. You're the reason that you haven't been getting blown out 38-10 in these first 2 weeks. But bottom line is, you had a chance to really buckle down and get it done, and you didn't. And so total team loss for the Giants as they dropped to 0-3. And at this point now, you just got to hope the rest of the division just collapses and you have a shot. That's your only hope at this point, is that the Eagles continue to play uneven. Well, I don't want to say play uneven football, because I thought they performed well on the road against Kansas City until they had a little bit of a collapse in the fourth quarter last week. But even then, they still were able to go down, get the touchdown, and have an onside kick that they convert and have a chance at a Hail Mary to tie the game up. So Eagles have been impressive the first 3 weeks of the season. You just got to hope the rest of the division struggles, and that the Eagles struggle, and that it gives you an opportunity to hang around. That's really your only hope, because at 0-3, I don't see the wild card being something that's in your future. There's just too many good teams in the NFC South, in the NFC North, that you're not going to be able to outlast those teams. You're going to have to try to win this division. You got to hope it's a down year for this division in order to have a shot, and I just don't see that happening. So, in any event, I don't really have a lot of time to take comments. I'll see if I can pick out one or two. Brian Emerson said, "Damn, what a slate of 1 o'clock games." And I wanted to talk about that. I meant to start with that. It's so funny. I had an overtime game on the small TV, and on the big TV, I had Eagles and Giants, and that almost went to OT. I had Steelers and Bears, which went to overtime, and they won in thrilling fashion. It should never gotten to that point, and that's a farce in itself. But I'll elaborate on that when I get to that game. Bottom line is, everyone was complaining about the start to the season for the NFL and how the ratings are down, which I think it has nothing to do with the type of games we've seen. Nothing has really been close. Yet we saw a ton of upsets. We saw a bunch of close games. The Detroit-Atlanta game comes down to essentially a catch that we thought was a touchdown that ended up not being a touchdown. You got the overtime Steelers game. You got this game that ends on a 61-yard field goal as time expires. I mean, there's a lot of good football being played in these 1 o'clock games. And so to everyone that says the league is down because of poor play, take that. Stick it in your pipe and smoke it. And finally, I'll take this one from Cloud. He says, Doug's dumb 4th and 8 call and Ertz fumble almost lost us the game. Yes. Yep. Those were 2 major plays. I just don't understand why Doug Peterson does some of the things he does. I don't understand. I don't get it. He needs to explain it to me, because I like to think of myself as a very smart, knowledgeable fan of the game, and a lot of the things that he does makes absolutely no sense to me. And sometimes, as a coach, you can outsmart yourself. And I thought that was one of those situations where he thought to himself, well, if I punt the football from the 45-yard line, how much are we really going to net here? It's not really going to hurt us to go for it on 4th and 8. Yeah, but think about the game and the way that it's going, genius. It's not about the 20 yards you net if your punter decides to boot it out of the end zone. Okay, it's about the way the game is going and the fact that your defense is dominating. So how about you give your punter a chance to pin him inside the 10 and play defense the way you've been playing, and see if you can't get a stop yourself, a 3 and out, get the football back with great feet. You might get the football back at the exact spots you punt it from. Who knows what happens instead? You do something idiotic like go for it, you don't get it, and next thing you know, the Giants have an opportunity to tie this game before the halftime break. You got lucky. You escaped with a win here, but had you lost this game, a lot of people would have been pointing to that decision, among others, as to why you possibly could have lost this game. Luckily, the Giants didn't take advantage of that situation, and you were able to come away with the victory. In any event, that's going to do it for me here on Lockdown Coverage, week number 3 in the National Football League. Philadelphia Eagles fly, victorious over the New York Football Giants, 27-24 on a dramatic 61-yard field goal as time expires by rookie field goal kicker Jake Elliott. Giants drop to 0-3. Eagles survive and go to 2-1 on the season. That's family business for you, boy, and I love every second of it. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I'll be back at halftime of this Packers and Bengals game that I'm watching to break down Steelers and Bears. What a crazy game it was in Chicago at Soldier Field as the Bears were able to get a very surprising victory over the previously undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll see you at halftime for that. Been good. See you in a bit. As always, enjoy the football.